we've met before or not, or if I just spaced it.
If you like Vanessa, you're gonna love Izzy.
Okay,
I
that's
think I only
cool.
met one,
Did we briefly maybe?
yeah, probably over.
Possibly over there? Good.
All right, we're ready to begin.
Thank you very much. I will call to order the Monday, November 4, 2024 Civil Service Commission. The roll call is as follows: Chief Almeida, Deputy Chief Hollis. I'm not gonna do it what I did last time. Izzy, is that all right if I go with a first name? Thank you. Izzy, we have Leilani, we have Commissioner Brown. Absent is Commissioner White unless she is online. Do we know? No, we do not. We also have Paul in the background babysitting us. And I am Commissioner Vey. I will ask for approval of the agenda for today's meeting.
Move approval of the agenda.
Thank you. We don't have anything to discuss about that, so we'll call for the vote.
Yes.
Ask for a motion to approve the minutes from the August 5 meeting.
Move for approval of the minutes of the meeting of August 5th, 2024.
Thank you. No discussion. Call for the question. Approve,
Aye.
approve, great. Do we have any public comment? I see and hear none. So we will proceed to the agenda items, the command staff quarterly report. Chief.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. I'd like to report for the third quarter, we had a total of 33 applications, 29 of which were entry level or were lateral. Of the 29 entry level, 10 were disqualified at the application phase. 7 were disqualified at the oral board. 2 were disqualified during the guardian process, which is basically inputting documentation. We had no one disqualified at the chief's stage. We have 5 on the eligibility list that were passed onto that list. 2 have withdrawn from the process and 3 are currently in the background process. Of that 3, I want to say we only have 2 now in backgrounds. The other one is finished. And both those are slated, if they complete as we anticipate, for a early January academy in next year. On the lateral front, we had 4 apply, of which 3 were disqualified at the oral board, 1 on the eligibility list, and then we had 1 reinstatement. He has now completed the background process and has started his training process. On the discipline front, during the third quarter, we had 1 internal affairs investigation against 2 officers for discourtesy. They had a public disagreement that was sustained. Both officers have received assignment to remedial training for that sustained allegation. That completes my report.
Thank you, sir. Any concerns? Any issues you need to
No,
address?
all 72 positions are either filled or have 2 people in backgrounds for. We're in good stead. We currently have approximately 8 people between backgrounds and field training program and in the academy. We are on line for having the majority of those folks out by December and then finish field training at the beginning of next year. So we're looking very well for our field ready personnel.
Excellent. Thank
Just
you.
have a question, if I may.
Mhm.
Just curious, recognizing where you're at with the budget development and adoption by the council. What's in the proposal in terms of your agency or your department rather? What's,
There are new positions currently being authorized under the current budget.
so it's not a maintenance of effort budget. There's a little bit of additional resource being provided to you. It is a maintenance of effort budget. No, you're cutting back?
That there's no new positions being authorized in the new budget.
No new position. So it is basically, it's basically status quo then.
More or less.
Okay. Did you ask for more?
We had discussions on future needs. Those will be reevaluated mid-year, during the mid-year process.
Thank
You have to see how general revenue starts coming in for next year. We have concerns. Right now, there's a structural deficit, so no new positions are being added unless they're funded through another mechanism other than the general fund.
Thank you.
All right. If that concludes the command report, then we will proceed to the reinstatement language.
Yeah, so we're not making any official changes right now. We just wanted to make sure the commission was aware. We are looking into updating the civil service rules section to provide more clarity on what it means for folks that resign or separate who want to come back. But essentially either rehire, or if they went to another agency, lateral back, what things would be reinstated in terms of benefits. We have a very small paragraph right now on reinstatement. But we just want to capture in the rules what we've actually provided for. We've had two essentially rehires who were reinstated to their former officer level position in the last year, I think. Somebody who retired, somebody who left and lateraled back. So we just want to make sure that the rules are clear with what is being provided. That way, if there are future folks who leave and try to come back, we can rely on being consistent with the rules.
What rule exactly are we speaking about?
So reinstatement is currently under the leaves and resignation rule, I think 7,
Section.
X11, 7,
Which
Yep,
one?
7,
section 4.
section 4. Okay.
Tell me again what you think is missing, and that would be helpful.
So right now, all it basically says is within 12 months from separation, the person who resigned or separated can be reinstated to a vacant position. And then that's it. I mean, essentially. So we had no historical records showing like, you know, what is actually reinstated. Reinstatement means something very different when it comes to layoffs, when it comes to like an arbitration decision where someone's reinstated into their position after they're terminated. If somebody leaves and comes back on their own accord, there's certain things that wouldn't actually be reinstated. And so this is just to provide more clarity about benefits specifically, like what is reinstated. At a minimum, they should be getting what a lateral might get, right, under our current rules. But there's no basically like specific wording on what is reinstated under civil service rules, nothing under our city policy. So we just want to provide some clarity in case like I'm not here tomorrow, the chief or the DC is not here tomorrow to show like what we've actually reinstated.
So right now,
Or-
without that lack, with that lack of specificity, right now, you essentially just negotiating that on a case by case basis?
We did with the first one because we had no prior practice established. We negotiated that. And well, we negotiated, discussed with our union, but because it's not technically a union position upon rehire, it is, but ahead of that, it's not. So we just looked historically to see like, again, like what are we providing laterals? It should be kind of at a minimum what you would reinstate for a lateral. And then like what we might have done for a rehire in the non-rep realm. And because we had one, the secondary one, we just provided the same. So the secondary one was easier. But we just want to make sure that we're providing some clarity here. And we'll also be reaching out to some of our counterparts to see like what sort of language in the rehire reinstatement clauses for other civil service rules is out there, just to see if there's, you know, like things we're not thinking about that should be listed.
So you anticipate having some draft language?
Yeah,
for us
something to
and,
present to the commission
action at our next meeting?
in February. Yep. So we haven't done the research. We haven't put together anything. We just want a placehold that will be looking into that just to make sure we're being clear.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Is there anything you need us to do at this point in time?
No, just wanted to make sure you knew that's something we're working on.
Excellent. Okay, because the rules took a long time to get,
It
Into
did,
place.
yeah,
they made it.
yes,
We're already tweaking it,
yeah,
so.
we had this rehire, I think, occur after our
Mhm.
first update, yeah, so it's like, oh, well, you don't know what you don't know.
Right. Okay. Concerns? No?
Well, I would say that just from the position of from my seat, it's if we're going to reinstate somebody, it is different than rehiring somebody outside of that. So, and the idea of that is within a window, A reinstatement means that they left under good auspices. They're coming back, we have a vacancy that they can fill. It's a benefit to the department, it's a benefit to the individual. What's the best way to make that person whole again? You know, absent the period of time they were gone, right? So making sure that they returned as much as possible back to where they were when they left, so there is a reason for them to come back. We wouldn't want them going somewhere else as a lateral to lose that. So if they're coming back as a reinstatement, I see that differently as a rehire. If they've been gone more than a year and they go through the entire application process as a lateral officer, that's something different. So I think that that's a special carve out for reinstatement. I think we need to look at that, make sure that we're making them as whole as possible in light of our comparison cities and how the research turns out. That's just my only concern on it. Because we do want to be able to attract good employees to come back that left for whatever reason. There's a variety of reasons people leave. Sometimes you realize, well, grass wasn't greener where I was going, or their life situation changes and they're able to come back. We've had people, obviously, that I think they're getting transferred somewhere, or their spouse is getting transferred, they're gonna go with their spouse to go there. That doesn't turn out to be the case, and things change. A variety of different scenarios, right? So those are things that we always kind of look at. We want to make sure that we have that flexibility to bring them back and make them whole, so they're not penalized arbitrarily. But if we're gonna treat them as a rehire, as a lateral, then they should get the benefits that we're giving to the lateral hires. So I mean, just to make sure there's equity in that, so that we're all seeing it the same way. And that's I think that's what we're trying to do with HR, that we all are using the same language and seeing it from the same lens.
Is the CBA silent on this issue?
The CBA doesn't apply because they're not actually employees. They're not covered under that CBA yet.
It would if it was a layoff. Like if we laid somebody off, there would have been something in there about like what happens if we force someone out because of whatever layoff reasons and how we would treat the reinstatement of somebody under the layoff clause, but yeah, as far as like the rehire. So I will make it like clear to the chief's point, in the HR world, the action of somebody who used to work for us coming back is always called a rehire, no matter if it's, you know, somebody within a window or whatever. The action is a rehire. The reinstatement part applies to the benefits. So if they're rehired within that window, like you mentioned, we would reinstate the following. And like you said, we would look for consistency and like what makes sense. At a minimum, it would be what a lateral would get and probably more than. So like, you know, for example, longevity reinstatement would apply to somebody who used to work for us, a rehire in that short window, whatever that is. Right now in the rules, it says 12 months. So 12 months, and then the following is reinstated for that individual, whatever it was before, to make them whole. So just know, like in our realm, a lot of times rehire reinstatement might get flip-flopped. But when we look at it, the action is to rehire someone who used to work for us. They have to be in good standing. They had to have left in good standing. And then what benefits do they get back when they're reinstated?
And it just in full transparency, one of the things at issue right now is the accrual rate, right, of benefits. So if you're here for a certain amount of time, your accrual rates tends to increase over time. Do they go back to that original accrual rate, or do they start over again where a lateral would start? And we need to find out what our comparisons are saying on that. And that's kind of one of the things of contention. Obviously, if they're paid out when they leave, they don't get that back. That no one thinks that. It's just we want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So when people are talking about coming back, they know what they're walking into, eyes wide open. They're making an informed adult decision as they come back. Is this in their best interest to come back to the department?
Yeah.
So this is related, but not necessarily specific to this question. What I think I heard you say during your report is that of the 72 positions, they are all filled or about to be filled.
Correct. There's all but right now we have 70 people filling those positions. We have 2 people in backgrounds. They're in the final stages, frankly. So they have two more things to fill. And then one gets out of the military in January. So upon his leaving the military, he'll be given an academy date. We have another one in backgrounds. As soon as that person completes their phase, then there'll be a stage with an academy. Odds are they'll be probably more likely in the same academy.
So the reason I asked that question is because, you know, we all read about the challenges of other police departments in filling positions and signing bonuses that are into the tens of thousands of dollars. It seems like that's really good news that we are able to recruit and fill virtually all of our positions. And is that a change from the past? I mean, I'm new on this task force or this commission, but is that new, or we've generally been able to recruit and fill positions?
Well, there's a comprehensive answer to that, so it's not a short answer. We evaluated our hiring process and streamlined our hiring process. So when, under the old hiring process, people would tend to fall out and take up other offers or go other places because it just kind of took a while to get through the process. We streamlined that process.
Okay.
Once you are, after you have your, so you go through your written, your physical, you have an oral board, you're ranked. When that band comes up and there's an opening, I get 3 names for every position. They go to a chief's oral. I talk to those 3. I pick one of the 3 for the open position. Once I pick one of those 3 for the open position, they get a conditional offer that day. Most places wait until you go to the polygraph phase to get a conditional offer of hire. I do it on day 1. We also assign you a mentor on day 1. That mentor helps guide you through our hiring process because most people have never gone through a civil service hiring process. There's a lot of mystery and there's some downtime, and somebody's like, oh, what's going on? You know, what should I wear to my psychological evaluation? Where do I park? You know, how long should I be there? You know, all those kind of things, right? So we can help demystify the process. And that tends to help us retain candidates throughout our process. And we are able to get process done pretty quickly. Also, we use Guardian now, which is electronic based versus snail mail. So we're able to get response back for background purposes from all the references. That helps facilitate the process as well. As we navigate that process, we're also, since we have someone at the academy as a TAC officer, we're able to get academy dates very quickly. So we're able to get people very efficiently into the academy throughout the last couple of years. And we've had someone at the academy for the last 5 years. So through that time, we've been able to build. When I started here, we had 52 positions. Now we're at 72, and we've been able to fill that 20 in excess of all the people that have left along the way for retirements and various reasons. So a lot more than 20. That's where we've gained those folks. So we've been able to do that. We're also very attractive. We have attractive pay, we have attractive benefits, we have attractive working conditions, we have attractive training. We have a high emphasis on training. That tends to attract a lot of laterals because there are agencies where the first thing to go is training, right? And they're just like, we're short-staffed, get on the road, forced overtime, get, go, hands, and there's no time for training. Out of our 15-day work schedule on a monthly basis for our officers, one of those days is carved out as an overlap Friday for 10.7 hours of training. Right, so they're not in the field, they're doing training in a classroom or in a facility, doing part of our measured training program, right? And our training is, it's all built on being, you start here, it builds on each last training that we had. So there's a reason to go to every single training. And it gets more and more sophisticated, more complex as you go throughout the year. And then we have the summation kind of at the end, where, you know, the world falls apart, you gotta put it back together, right? So it's kind of fun, frankly. So, and that attracts a lot of people. So by doing that, we tend to attract a lot of candidates that other folks aren't able to attract. Also, frankly, in Lacey, the community is very supportive, the council is very supportive, other officers. One of the big things that people ask me, what's the difference between working in Lacey and somewhere else? I said, well, here people wave with all 5 fingers. It's not like that everywhere else.
Except at the groundbreaking on the new regional training center.
Well,
So
again, that wasn't really Lacey community members.
That's right,
That's a whole
that's
other
right.
conversation. So, but yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of things going on there. And even that isolated incident that happened in January, you don't see people protesting it anymore, right? Because we've been able to educate people about, hey, we're not the people who be protesting.
Right.
We're in alignment with really what you're kind of looking for. Maybe not everything, but we're a pretty progressive police department. We have minimal use of force. We talk to a lot of people. We use education versus enforcement. We're very, very community oriented. And this is really the archetype of what people want to do. We have embedded social service component. We do a lot of de-escalation. We do co-responder. They do response on their own to folks in crisis. We have social service mechanisms. We have homeless outreach mechanisms. It's a really good place to be. Now we're also getting to do a lot of proactive work and doing different things as far as beyond the radio call. Things that keep me up at night. What crime is occurring that we're not capturing on a radio call or on a traffic stop, right? There's all sorts of other crime, trust me, right? So we got to make sure we're going out and we're seeking out that crime and combating it so it can't take root. So those are the kind of things that attract officers to your agency. And I think that that you have a lot of different options to work different types of law enforcement within a municipal environment. So we have a lot of work professional development opportunities. Workload is spread, so you're not mandatory overtime, forced hire over and over and over again. Because a lot of agencies, you're getting officers burnt out because of that. And we explain the why in our training. It's another part of our training. All of our training that we do, every single training we do has an ethical component to it. I mandate that because you have to know the why of what you're doing. It's great to learn a technique, but if you don't know why you're doing it or when you should apply that technique, is it appropriate in this circumstance? When is it not appropriate? Let's talk about why that is. That's the important part of the component, right? So you know when to use the tools at your disposal, right? Because officers are faced with ethical dilemmas every single day throughout their day. And being taught ethics once or twice a year, that's not going to cut it. So we do it on every single training and every single environment. So people are always thinking about those components and making sure we're not setting people up into moral dilemmas, right? So those are the things why we're able to fill those spots. So I know it's kind of a wide ranging answer to your question, but it really all plays into why we're fully staffed.
Good. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Anything else on the reinstatement part of the agenda?
No, we will bring you something to consider language update wise in February.
Sounds good. Thank you very much. That takes us to the land acknowledgement, and I am going to respectfully ask that we table that to the next meeting in February.
Okay.
I have been doing some looking into, I have been having some conversations with some people. There are a few more people that I believe I need to communicate with, and then we can bring it back up, and I would like to have Commissioner White available to have input from her as well, so. We'll
Native
table
American
that.
History Month this month, so we'll put that on the record.
Okay. It's on the record then. If there is nothing
I
else,
have one more thing.
okay, is it,
And I think this is more for the chiefs than for Leilani, but some things I've seen on social media since I've been on the commission remind me that I wanted to at least offer or ask if there are police-specific public events, activities that it makes sense to invite Civil Service Commission members to. I'd be interested in that. The groundbreaking on the regional training center is an example. We just happened to be here that day. That coincided, and somebody came in, one of our council members, I think, and said, come across the street. But if it's, I don't know whether it's commissioning ceremonies, but if there's something where it's appropriate to invite commissioners, I for one would welcome that.
Will do.
all right,
So move we adjourn.
yes, move we adjourn. Let's do that,
All right. What happens if it's a split vote?
right? I'm leaving. That's what happens if it's a split vote, so.